The objective I have with this masterclass is really to help you understand why do we pitch, what makes a good pitch, and why do we put certain elements in a pitch. So I really try to get you into the backstage of the creation of a pitch so that then it becomes very evident for you to explain your project and efficient to make people understand what you're doing. So how do we do a format of a pitch that really helps people to understand and remember what you are working on? There are 3 parts. We will only discuss about the 2 first. The third one, it will be just reading on the slides that you will receive. The first part for me is to demystify pitching. You understand that in the START program, we love to demystify, to really show you that in fact, there is no secret in pitching. It's more a natural ability that comes along your own project. The most your project is clear for you, the easiest it will be for you to explain it. Then we will go in the feet of the listeners, that's what I call the pitch mentalist. If you can put yourself in the place of the audience, then you will understand why do we ask you in a pitch to speak about certain points. And then again, the third part, we won't discuss it today, but just to let you know, there are some slides where I give elements about how do you adapt your pitch when you want to speak in front of an investor, a media, a customer. It's a bit different. You can work on your pitch a bit differently. But here, the 2 first part is to help you have a 3-minute pitch. It's pretty short, but it's also pretty long. Like in 3 minutes, you can say a lot, but you need to say what is essential. So that's really the challenge. To start with, I like to show this image, which for me is a nutshell of what is a pitch. When you present your project, the reality of what exists today is this stone. It's a raw stone. But what you have in mind and what you think you are able to do is a cut diamond. So in your head, your project that will happen later on maybe, it's a beautiful jewelry. But in reality, what we can see today is just a rough diamond, a rough stone. Yeah. So the work in your pitch is to make us able to see within the stone the cut diamond. Okay, you have this work to do. It's the whole objective of a presentation. When you are presenting your project, so as I was saying, you can have a very diverse audience. You can be in front of a client, a potential investor, eventually someone that you try to hire. It can be a mentor, a friend. But the reality is that you never really know to whom you are pitching. And this, you really have to have it in mind so that first of all, you stop pressuring yourself, thinking, oh, I need to say exactly what the person in front of me needs to listen to. But also so that you really work on a pitch that is where you can reach a maximum of person and even some people indirectly. When I say that you don't know to whom you're pitching, the very easy way to understand it is like the person to whom you're pitching, maybe it is the daughter, the husband, the friend of another category. You're pitching to a journalist, this person is married to an investor, you're pitching to a friend, and maybe one sibling of this person could become your next employee. So you really have to consider anyone, don't put them in any boxes. This slide, for me, it's kind of the sum up of all my presentation. So then you can, I don't know, print it and keep it because there is the essential elements in it. The first line I wrote, in reality, every time you pitch is the first time. If you maybe happen to see in the street, you know, near theaters, sometimes you have posters where they say, this is a display has been presented for the 500 times, you know. And often I was wondering, like, how can actors play 500 times the same story and it's always very good? It is only possible if they realize that every time they play, it is the first time, and that it's always a real human a live encounter with someone. And for instance, this presentation, I can tell you, I did it tons of time, but now I'm really with you. And even though it's in a webinar, it's pretty hard, but I really mean to let you understand what I try to present, you know, and we are together. And it's not just an automatic way of telling you whatever I'm doing. And this happens often. When you listen to pitches, sometimes the person who is speaking is not there. They're just not there, they're just repeating a text. So first of all, realize that anytime you present what you do, it's the first time and you really want the person in front of you to get what you try to explain. Second thing, it is impossible for your audience to remember everything that you say. You know your project by heart. For us, it is the first time we're discovering. If you are using a too complex word, you are losing us. So work on identifying what is the essential that you need to tell us so that we can understand very well what you do. And we are able to spread the word. Because I was saying that you don't know to whom you are pitching. So it's true that maybe you present your project and the person in front, well, is not very interested, but maybe this person will have dinner tonight with someone that is exactly your target. And if you are able to be super clear about what you do and to say things that the person can remember, such as, for instance, the name of your company or anything that makes it memorable, then this person will be able at night to speak about what you do to the person that is the right one, and so we'll be able to spread the word. But this is only if you only keep the essence of the message and you make it easy to remember. That's why there is the backbone on the side, just to illustrate that's what you need to be able to transmit. So to sum up, your pitch needs to be very, very, very clear, no unnecessary detail, simplicity. If you can shorten your whole explanation with a picture or an illustration or one example, do it. You know, we often say one picture can replace 1,000 words. Be careful, I was saying it, with the words you are using. Sometimes what we say is like, if you are able to pitch what you're doing to someone that is, let's say, 7 years old, or to someone who is 70 years old, and the person can understand, you're good. So it means you didn't use too complex words. And breathe. It's not because, you know, you have 3 minutes, and it's not because you're gonna gallop and rush, telling everything you want to say, that we will be able to remember anything. And I'm not always a good example on this. I can speak very fast, but I try to be clear. So be extremely clear. Be educational, pedagogical. Here you can see the pictures explaining how do we do an omelette. As I was saying, when you present your project, usually you are at a stage that is not as advanced as what you promise to do. What I was comparing the raw stone and the cut diamond. So we need to be confident in the fact that you know how to do what you propose to do. So help us feel we are intelligent. Help us understand very concretely and pedagogically how do you do things. Again, this often can be very well explained through a diagram, for instance, or a kind of an illustration, like, you know, now long text that we just cannot understand, but well chosen images and arrows that maybe let us understand the process. And finally, I was saying it, if you want us to be able to spread the word and to speak about you, you need to be memorable. And to be memorable, it's very easy. You just have to be yourself. It's pretty rare to have people who are natural when they speak, you know, because of this whole pitch, I don't know, theater, you know, all these TED Talks where you have a kind of a supposedly norm of, okay, at the beginning, you need to tell the little story about your grandma, and then there is a surprise, you know. All this makes people unnatural when they present. So just be, first of all, if you're here, you understand that the first time you meet the person, you're speaking with your whole being, and you also allow yourself to be spontaneous. So if in your vibration there is usually you are someone that is used to have a bit of humor, or maybe you have a bit you are a poetic soul, or you are a very pedagogical and logic person, go with the flow, and you will see that you will say what is required. So that was the demystifying pitch. And for the one who are French, maybe you know this quote that says ce qui se conçoit bien s'énonce clairement, et les mots pour le dire vous viennent aisément. In English, it's what you can conceive very clearly is easy to say, and the right words comes to you naturally. So that's why a pitch, especially when it is about a project that is evolving, the pitch will evolve. And the more you will be clear about what you do, the easiest it will be to say. Of course, if you try to bullshit, it's hard. If you just tell what really is, it's easier. So let's go into the pitch mentalist to go on the other side. So the first side was you building the pitch, and now let's put ourselves in the shoes of the listener, which you are now. So like in the situation, I'm the pitcher and you are the listener. So let's dive into what is happening in your minds for the last minutes. So the first thing is like, hello. As a pitcher, you don't know what is happening in the mind of your listeners. You can prepare your presentation as much as you can. In reality, right now, for instance, I don't see what is happening in the invisible in your minds. And of course, if we could be in the same room, I would see your face, and maybe I could feel a bit more about how you feel, what I am presenting. But in reality, this is not even a sure information, because in my case, for instance, if like the entrepreneurs of the Blue Factory, it's always a bit hard for them, because I always, when I am very attentive and interested, I always frown, you know, and I look like that. I don't realize, but I'm like that. And so sometimes the pictures are like, oh my God, I'm afraid. But so the face of a listener is not always giving you elements about how do people relate to what you present. But something you can have in mind is first the understanding of how do we relate to information. There is Carl Gustav Jung that you may know. It's a psychoanalyst, and he's been working a lot about how does the psyche and the mind of a human being is working. And this Jung realized that there are 4 types of information that we receive and that allow us to understand the external and the inner world. There are thoughts, intuitions, feelings, and sensations. Those are 4 ways of getting information around us. And so when you are pitching, presenting a project, you will have to use those different types of contents. So here I'm giving a connection between those psyche understanding and how do you create a message that people can understand. So on one hand, you have the content, what is said in your pitch. On the other hand, you have the form. How do you share the message? About the content, the message itself, there are 3 ways of presenting your project. You can present it in an emotional way, conceptual way, or factual way. And those 3 types are connected to those information types I was mentioning just before. So an emotion is connected to the feeling, psyche capacity. Conceptual message is linked to intuition, and factual is linked to thought. usually what happens is, like, depending on our education, we are more or less able to, more or less used to present something on one of those three ways. If I am presenting the Blue Factory, I can present it in an emotional way. And there I will speak about the isolation of the entrepreneur and the fact that the Blue Factory is really there at that moment where someone who wants to create something doesn't know how to start and feel very, very alone. Also, sometimes is not understood by his siblings. I can explain the Blue Factory on a conceptual way. There I will speak about the pedagogy that we do on which type of programs, how do we build our programs with individual, collective coaching sessions, and how is the support of our entrepreneurs from the very beginning to the end of the program, and really try to let you understand how do you learn through Blue Factory. And if I speak about Blue Factory on a factual way, I will mostly give figures or very factual elements. So the fact that we have five campuses where we are building the Blue Factory, that we have 200 entrepreneurs per year, that we have 10 companies in the seed program, that we are located in Paris in 79 Avenue de la République. You know, I will try to give very factual elements. And if you work on that, you can realize that when you present your project, often we are only on one type of presentation. For instance, myself, I can be very well, usually I often use mainly emotional and conceptual. And this is not my spontaneous way to give factual information. But if I am presenting what I do to someone that is very factual and very less emotional and conceptual, we cannot understand each other. So the work you have to do about your project when you present it is to make sure that you are able to speak about it on all those three ways, so that everyone can understand you. And then maybe you will have your own vibe, but still in the conversation, you will be able to move on those three elements. And about the form, so the way you share your message, you have three ways. There is your voice. How do you deliver the message? Is your voice with a tone that is very always the same? There is no difference between the words, and so we cannot understand really what you say. Or are you really able to put sense, meaning within your voice? In terms of visual, are you able to build complementary visuals that, as you see here, there is not the text of my presentation. There is only some images that I try to use as a complementary to what I am saying. I try to help you better understand and remember what I'm sharing thanks to these visuals. And finally, kinesthetic, it's really about the body language, the fact that you incarnate what you're saying, and that's, you know, when someone is in the end, when someone is not true, you can feel it, you can smell it. And so it's more, yeah, do you correspond to what you're saying? Can we trust you? If we cut the language, or if I was speaking in a language you cannot understand, would you still be into the pitch? Would you follow what I'm saying? And so my invitation for you is really to have a thought about that, and try to see when you are presenting, maybe you will identify that there is a lack, and that you can work on presenting and explaining what you do on one of these three aspects. About the pitch, and especially about next session where there will be some people pitching, my proposal in a 3-minute pitch, as I was saying, you cannot say everything. It is impossible. So the essential, this backbone, I suggest those 3 moments. The first moment is be clear about the problem. Okay, what is the context? And what is the need that you try to address? Sometimes if you do, I don't know, something that is B2B, or if you do something in another country, the listeners may be not aware about the problem that you try to tackle. So be clear about the needs you want to address, and then bring the solution that you propose. Speak about your team and your achievements, because of course, ideas are in the air. Anyone can, at some point, have an idea of, oh, this would be a great solution, but the reality is like those one who will do it, it's you, your team. And as an investor or as even a media, if you want me to be convinced about what you do, I also need to have proof that until now you've been able to do something very concretely, and that it's not only blah blah. So that's why there is a team, and there is what you've been able to do until now, achievements. And then last point, it's about your current needs. When you pitch and when you ask me to be attentive to what you are saying, it's also because behind that you are waiting for something. Maybe you want to bring me on board of your project. So what do you need today? What type of collaboration do you propose? And what is your vision? If I go with you, where would you propose to take me? So those for me are the essential elements that are required to be shared in a 3-minute pitch. It's not a question of order, it's just a logical flow, but if there's a reason why you want to change this order, it's absolutely possible. And I won't go in this detail, but I went into more, specific elements on these different parts so that you will be able to read it later on. About the pitch mentalist, I will go fast because it is fast, but it's just a last way for you to really understand why this list that I just explained, why do we need those elements? What is the connection between this list in a pitch and the reality of the experience of listening to someone's project? So as you see, this woman, I love these pictures because she really looks like, okay, I'm listening to you. I'm not yet convinced. Continue. Because the first thing that very, very, very often happens is the fact that we listen to pitches and in the end, we don't get it. We just don't understand what is the point, but what is the problem and what is the solution. It's just, we've been listening to a 3-minute pitch and we are lost. That very, 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 very often happens, even for very advanced projects, and especially for very advanced projects, because usually, because you have so many things that you want to say, you don't accept to choose and to just give us the essential, and we're lost. So here, that's why it is very important to be extremely clear. What is the problem that you want to solve? In my case, Blue Factory, I want to help the people who are starting a business and don't know where to start. In which way do you solve this problem? In our case, Blue Factory, we build programs for entrepreneurs to start, learn, and go for their first company. And finally, what is the solution that you bring? In our case, there is the START program that is every semester, online and in English. There is the SEED program in Paris, So what is the problem? How do you solve it? And concretely, what does the solution looks like? As easy as that, you can do it in 20 seconds. Don't even need 3 minutes. And this needs to be crystal clear so that your pitch worth it. Another sentence that can be often in your mind, it already exists. Especially if you're pitching in front of incubators and investors, they are used to see many solutions that are look-alike. So what is very important is not to hide the fact that there are others doing similar things, but to be clear about what is your own way, what is the specificity of your product or service in the context of another market. Others have tried and failed. Again, especially for investors and incubators, we can sometimes we meet projects that we have already heard about 10 years ago and it never happened. So we are a bit like, you know, skeptical. So it is important for us to know why you will be able to do it. What in your team, or maybe what in the timing of the market, what makes it possible today. Very important, it's you and only you that makes a project. It wouldn't interest anyone, a bit the same, where we can be skeptical because we don't see the point, we are not concerned, we don't feel it. Then here it's important to tell us who is already supporting you. Is there any institution or partners or mentors that are following you? And here, please be true. There are many websites that just put logos saying like, you know, they already trust us. And in fact, it's just very weak connection. So no need to lie. That's something we always feel, but still don't hide. Don't hide if you have current real supporters. That's an asset that you already have, even though your project is pretty young. It is too complicated to do. Something when I was saying about being pedagogical, you know, and being able to explain us how you are able to do some things. This is very important to help us, as I was saying, be intelligent. And here, I love this example, which is the Facteur Cheval Palace. It's in France near Lyon. And it's a beautiful story about a mailman, a mail postman, who was walking every day 30 kilometers to distribute the mail. And one day he fell on a rock and he remembers about a drawing he had dreamed of. And during all his life, for 40 years, more or less, he has been doing his job, like distributing the mail, looking for stones on the way. And then every day in his garden, he was building this palace himself from his dream. And he really did it with his hands. He never learned how to build anything. You know, it was very spontaneous. And I love this story because it is how a project happens, you know, learning by doing every day, step by step. In the end, this beautiful castle has been done by a man just taking stones every day and building it in his garden, which is pretty easy in a way. So be able to share with us what are the easy steps to move on that you will use. We are almost arriving at the end, so that's a good timing almost. There are strong that will manage. This is a very strong one. I've been in juries where we had beautiful projects that weren't chosen because it was not clear what they needed. They seem to be so strong that we didn't know how to, that we thought maybe they don't need the support of the jury. So be able to tell us at the end, you know, what type of contribution are you waiting from us? How can we help you? Yes, you are a strong team, but still you need something. If not, you wouldn't pitch your project. So tell us how we can contribute and what is the puzzle piece that you're waiting from us. It was great until the questions. Again, I'm very emphasizing on the fact that this is a conversation. You just meet someone, you just present what you do. So it's not a show. So there is no reason why when you're done, you leave the stage. So even when the pitch is ended, the pitch continues, maybe in the networking part, maybe when you meet the person in the elevator. And if at some point in the conversation, you don't have an answer to a question that someone is asking you, you just have to be very peaceful and to say, let me email, I will answer you. I don't have the answer right now, but I will get back to you. We can discuss it soon. So there is no reason to be, like annoyed of, oh my God, I don't have the answer. And finally, I like the first project, and it was, I don't remember. This is when we used to have an event in Paris where we were having 50% pitching, 50 in a whole day. You can imagine that it's impossible to remember, except if you've been following some of the tips I shared with you. If you've been very natural, totally present, clear, simple, and natural. When I say natural, it means you've shared a bit of your own spice. And so we remember what you said, how you say it, who you are, and so in the middle of the 50 pitches, you're still in our, you stick in our minds. In my case, maybe the diamond analogy will be the little one that you will remember, thinking, oh yeah, okay, my pitch, I know I have a cut diamond in my head. How do I let them understand what I'm doing? This will be the pitch again. You will have everything in the mail that we will share with you, and there for those who will pitch on the 19th of April, and more generally, really be careful, especially about the visuals. You saw all my presentation. It's super important to make something that is complementary. Not too much colors, not too much fonts. Prefer charts, illustration, pictures more than words, and make what you say and what you show one thing that goes together. And finally, practice, 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 because again, I was speaking about these actors that are playing 500 times the same story. If they are able to make it super fresh, it's also because they have been practicing a lot. And I'm done with the presentation. I will leave the floor to Manuela to conclude, and just to tell you the last part, pitch as we meet. It is again something you can read, where you will have some elements, for instance, for an investor speech, what you can have in mind if you need to twist it a bit. But my point was really to help you be able to pitch in 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, it is a bit the same pitch that you do towards an investor, a media, a colleague. It's a bit the same. I hope you had a good session.